depending on how heavy your implement is, choke up if you need to. So you can start up here, tilting up and down, and as you get stronger, grip your hand back to the far end of the stick until it's back as far as it can go. And you can use heavier or lighter sticks depending on your development. So up and down in the front, and the same thing at the back. In addition, we'll work the rotation. So grip the stick around the middle, work on rotating the wrist back and forth. You should take it a little bit slowly at first, because if it's a fairly heavy stick, you have to go easy on the connective tissues. But you can build up a bit of speed. And then if you have a slightly lighter stick, you can do it ballistically for more of a plyometric effect. So as you reach the end of the range of motion, resist just before that contracts and fire it back again. So start to build up a whip. Again, take this very slow. And finally, we can work some isometric holds with the larger stick. So get as far back on the stick as you can, and then practice packing your shoulder down and holding it out for time. First with all your fingers, then with 3 fingers, 2 fingers, and finally 1 finger. Back as far as you can get it on the stick. Those are some strength drills for your joint. The other thing I would highly advise you to do is get yourself a copy of the Download Beyond Push-Ups. It's redundant to show you that here. It's widely available, but those exercises are ideal for building the tensile strength of your wrists that will carry over to stick fighting. That, and if you're a club bell athlete, you're already ahead of the game, because the grip strength you'll develop from club bell swinging is second to none, and it'll really carry over to this sort of discipline. Alright, for the range of motion drills, we'll begin with palms down, spaced out a little beyond shoulder width on the stick. We'll start by reaching up and over your head. Keep your elbows locked all the way to the back, slowly and smoothly. Back up again. Your goal is to reach up, separate your shoulder joints, and move slowly and smoothly through the range of motion. You shouldn't feel any kind of strain here. You're working to open up the mobility of your shoulders. Once you've done a bunch of those, start working from one side. This arm stays straight. This arm bends. Notice I'm keeping a good grip on the stick here. We're building functional grip strength at the same time. This is no good if my fingers pry off the stick. We work on a firm grasp. So once you've got that down, take it into full, smooth circles. Slow and smooth, working through the entire range of motion in both directions. Alright, now we'll work on the mobility of different aspects of our wrist. So begin with palms up, start sliding the stick back and forth out to your center line. These drills will also carry over to some of the sliding strikes I want to focus on later. But for now, develop that sensitivity to allow the stick to slide through your grasp without letting it go and without choking up on it so that you lose the force. But these sliding strikes are only as good as the strength of your grasp. So here's how we'll build that. Palms up, slide it out to the center line, rotate it around and downwards. Back to the center line, back to the middle, back to the center line, rotate it over and down. Initially, you may not have a lot of range in this position. That'll come as you work the exercise. Take it slowly and smoothly, allow your connective tissues to develop. And notice I'm not letting my fingers pry away. That defeats the purpose of the exercise. We're trying to build functional grip strength at the same time as mobilizing our wrists. So slide it out, keep a solid grasp, rotate it down as far as you can, slide it back and forth like this. Alright, now we'll do the same drill with a shorter stick, which will allow you to work completely across the front plane of the body. So, same idea, grasp the stick at either end, rotate it around, keeping tight in, crank it over. Notice that my sliding hand is never making contact with the stick. This is really important. I'm not letting go and re-gripping. I'm sliding along the stick so that I always have control of it and I always know where it is. So, back and forth, and then build this up smoothly. Again, maintaining a good hold on the stick so that you're working functional grip strength as well as mobility. Alright, now we're going to work a different range of our wrists. These stick movements will also carry over to any sort of wrist locks. You'll notice the previous movement we were doing, put the joint in this position. This movement will take it into this position. These are all common wrist locks in most martial arts. So this time, begin with your hands down over the stick, and we'll rotate out and reach out from ourselves. The force is here, lifting upwards. Back to the center. Reach out to the other side, cranking up this way on the stick. And notice, again, you're only going to the limit to where your fingers can stay attached. Once they start coming off, you know you've gone too far. Reaching out smoothly, turning it back in, and then start to build the coordination by working it smoothly. All the little coordination drills will carry over to your stick work later on. To the earlier drill, and we'll start to add in some lateral mobility. So start with the palms up, grip on the stick, slide it this way, rotate your arm down and under, and we'll work it back until it's in this contorted position. This is the same position that we worked in that first drill, except the stick stays horizontal and you're translating back and forth across your frontal plane. So work that in and out, slide it, work your way around the stick into this contorted position, have them both release one, release the other. So to work it smoothly, you're going to have to let that one hand slide a little bit to allow the stick to pass through, and then bring it back. A piece of dowel is ideal for this because there's no sticky varnish to get in the way of your grip. In, out. Moving your body around the stick and keeping the stick on as horizontal a plane as you can. So combine that last exercise now with the first mobility exercise we did for our shoulders. So slide it around so that your wrists are in this contorted position, and now work up and over to the back, slow and smooth, back to front. So you bring your wrist back into this joint locked position again, and keeping a firm grasp on your stick to work the joint strength. Up and back, slowly and smoothly, never straining. And then start to work into one side, like we did with the initial drill. And finally, start to work it in to full circles, keeping that one elbow extended when the other one is bent. Back and forth in both directions. We're going to work the range in our shoulder now. So start by sliding it out in a poke, and when you bring the stick back, rotate your hand out and back. Coming back to center, poke out, rotate your hand to the outside, bring your shoulder into the back. This position is similar to many shoulder joint locks. So you're also kind of priming the joints and strengthening them against those types of attacks. So this carries over to much more than stick fighting. So what I want you to do though from here, when you bring it back and get into this position, lift up this end of the stick a little bit and crank your shoulder just slightly. This shouldn't be uncomfortable. You're working to extend the range of motion just a little bit. Wind it back in, start again. Poke, retract, lift it a little bit to work the range, back in again. After first warming it up by working the range with these bends, then you can start smoothly working it back and forth, pushing to deeper and deeper ranges. Poke, back, retract. Alright, from the same position again, one hand up, one hand down near the back part of your stick. we're going to work some rotations. So we'll combine that same sliding poke back by opening to the outside, and this time we'll let the stick carry up and over to unload our shoulder joint and come back into this position. A couple things that are important here. Nice smooth sliding strike, and from the retraction, notice I'm not whipping the stick up and over, and I'm also not arming it over, and I'm not winging it erratically away from my body. I want you to use the fulcrum of your shoulder to rotate it over, so there's very little effort on your part. This is important later on as well. And I also want you to keep it tight in. See how at the bottom it's just skimming the ground and rotating as I pull my arm downwards back into position. It rotates tightly around my body. This will be very important for some stuff I want to teach you later on in the flow fighting stick aspects of using a stick in tight spaces. So you can fight even with a very long stick in very small and narrow corridors. Unwind, slide it back, unload, back to center. Again, the goal is work on smooth, first work on wrist mobility. If you have to do it slow and choppy, that's fine, until you've opened up your shoulder joint and opened up your wrist joint. The previous exercises should have done a good job of that. Next, your focus is smooth motion. Slow it down, move yourself around the stick, and finally refine that motion by keeping the stick tight into your body. So you're fighting in a plane that's tight in this way. You'll see it pretty clearly from the front. So the poke, retraction, keep it tight to my body here, tight back around once more. So these will all be important later on as we move on to the stick fighting drills. That's it for the mobility, joint mobility, and joint strength drills with the stick. The next installment will cover kinesthetic sensitivity drills and movement.